Good morning, guys. Well, it's almost afternoon. Maybe it is afternoon, but look, I want to talk about neurohormones and how they're important today. But this morning, right now, I want to share some information so that you guys can understand why it's important. At 3 p.m., I'll come back and we'll break down all the science of why insulin resistance is impeding these hormones, things like oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. And thanks, Red, over on YouTube for asking for this content so I could dive in. And you guys, every time you ask me to bring answers, it helps me because I get to learn right along with you guys. And that's so amazing for me. So, look, oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine are regulating your emotions and your life in a real way. And insulin resistance really impedes that. I know personally. I've struggled with autism. Didn't really know that it was autism until I was an adult. I've had ADHD as a result of some post traumatic stress, ADHD. And along the way, even though those things happened, I didn't understand why all of it was happening when I was growing up. We just didn't talk about this stuff. I also didn't understand why it felt like it was getting worse every year. So I was fighting Shem, how to deal with autism. You know what? I want to tell you something. First, autism is a gift. Like my brain works differently than everybody else's, and that's okay. It's what allows me to dive into these things. So I'm in this place where I'm learning day by day how to embrace my autism and how to not beat myself up when I work and operate differently than other people. But I'm going to go into some of those things later today in depth. I want to tell you what helped my autism get better, help me manage my emotions, my sensitivities, all of that better, along with my ADHD, being able to stay focused better, was simply helping get my insulin resistance under control. And the protocol that I use to do that, which includes a tea that I have, I'm drinking it now. This helps my mental clarity. But amazingly, it also helps with a lot of those sound and I don't sound sensitivities, sight sensitivities, smell sensitivities, because it's changing in combination with intermittent fasting and the pre-meal drink I drink. It helps make my brain be able to utilize these hormones much better and allows me to deal with my autism in a way that 5, 10 years ago I would have never imagined. Now, has it fixed it, cured it, taken it away? No, it hasn't. But if you have autism and PTSD related ADHD, it's a game changer. My family can tell you I'm so much more functional now. My poor kids, I feel bad for the woman that they had to grow up with because I was volatile. I didn't want to be, I didn't like it. I would spend time crying after I'd have these volatile episodes, and I had no idea what was causing it. So, besides the fact that, here's the thing, we're going to dive into how insulin resistance causes or not causes, but worsens and sometimes causes some of these things later today at 3 p.m. Okay, we're going to come back with a lot of the sciencey stuff and I'll explain that. But insulin resistance really relates to how our body produces these hormones of oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. They all link in, especially the oxytocin. In an insulin resistant state, your body's not producing it, so those symptoms get worse. Here's the thing, too. If you're a mother, a father who's diabetic or having a metabolic disorder, do you know that you are more likely to have an autistic and ADHD child and a child who's predisposed to insulin resistance and diabetes than a person who has their metabolic system under control before they have kids? So, when I was growing up, it was always like, cut out cigarettes and cut out drinking before you have kids if you want them to be healthy. Yet one of the biggest things in our world today that's causing problems is the crazy amount of sugars and processed foods that we're eating. And we're being pumped, it's being pumped into us. You guys, something else. People always say it's so expensive to eat better. It's so expensive to, that's kind of designed by the food industry to keep you hungry, to keep you eating all the crud that's on the shelves. But as I've transitioned in my life to eating healthier, I spend way less on groceries than I ever used to. And one of the ways we fool ourselves that eating those junk foods, which is almost everything in the grocery store, the way we fool ourselves into that is we don't count all the snacks we're buying and all the little times we stop for rescue sugar or rescue salt or rescue whatever that we're eating, and then we're complaining that eating healthy is so much worse. But when you even at it's about $5 a day for the protocol that I did that helped my autism and my ADHD and my anxiety and my depression and all the things. I now know when I look at my grocery bill, I'm not stopping for the little snacky stuff all the time. My grocery bill is about half of what it used to be, which makes it so much covers the cost of my protocol. I hear all the time mothers say, "Well, I can't do that because I have kids." Do you know if you feed your kids healthier things like proteins and fats, yeah, the bill up front is more expensive, seemingly, but you're not buying all this ramen noodles and cereal and donuts and all the stuff that's making them sick that you're having to repeat buy and spend more money on. And so you end up spending more money than you suspect because your kids are hungry all the time and they're getting sicker. And that applies to us too. So I'm talking about kids because I have one of my biggest objections is, well, I have kids, I can't eat this way. Yes, you can. We used to eat this way all the time. There was not all the snacks. And I remember taking long trips. We drove from North Idaho down to California to visit family. Do you know we didn't have a car full of snacks? We had a jug of water. There wasn't all the chips and candy bars and stuff that we needed to eat along the way because we had breakfast, we had lunch, and we had dinner. Now, what's more expensive, having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, dinner, a dessert, a snack? Because we're snacking and eating so much stuff. That's the real cost of why our food budget is so big. And it's the cost of what's helping us be non-functional mentally. So all the emotional problems, the emotional dysregulation that we're seeing can actually be linked back to our food. And look, it's not your fault. It's what we're told. It's what we're taught. It's what we're sold. We're in this society that's having us eat food that's really toxic for us, or even at the best when we're eating good food, like food from the farmer's market. You talk to vegans and stuff. Anyway, that's a whole other, my mind goes off on all these directions. But the foods have been changed so much through farming practices, through use of like glyphosates and pesticides, the microplastics that we have. The microplastics I talked about yesterday, and I will continue to talk about, they're not only building up in our musculature, in our brain, it's ending up in even like the cattle, the fish, and the chicken that we're eating because it's getting in them, and then we're eating it again in them. So the best we can do is start to regulate how much some of this stuff is impacting our health. In today's world, it's we just have to do the best we can. Nobody's going to go be, what's his name, Brian, you guys know, the guy who spends $1 million a year on his health and has reversed his, Brian Johnson. We all can't do that, right? So we have to know that we can do better. And for me, look, my autism was, my kids told me that I had autism and ADHD. They're the ones who brought it to my forefront because I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to know that that was affecting my life. I did not want to know that that's why after every one of these lives, I am exhausted because my brain just functions different. But it's so much better than it was before I got a hold of my insulin resistance. So insulin resistance, you guys, how many of you guys, number one, feel like you're struggling with anxiety, depression, any of these things up here, post-traumatic stress disorder? Do you know that the lack of oxytocin, if you already have PTSD and you add insulin resistance on top of that, you're going to struggle more with those PTSD links than if you get your insulin resistance under control? Did you know that? Because there are a ton of us walking out here with PTSD. It's not just kids, like my son is in the military, was deployed to a war zone, has some PTSD from that. I have PTSD from my upbringing because it was volatile and it was negative. But you guys, a lot of us have some PTSD. And yet we don't understand that insulin resistance is taking away our oxytocin, which is creating that PTSD to be worse. Well, it's creating a place where, like, we see more obsessive compulsive disorder, lack of oxytocin or oxytocin dysregulation, autism, depression, social anxiety, all of those, and insulin resistance is impeding the way your body can create oxytocin. I'm gonna go in depth about that at 3 PM and explain how this is happening, but understand that insulin resistance, born in the food environment that we have, is causing a lot of this disorder that we're experiencing today, and it's why we're feeling so sick, not just in our bodies, but in our brains. So then we look at the dopamine, which is a huge problem for me. My kids told me about gaming, and I love gaming with my family because it's a social interacting with them, whether we're all around the world or not. I have a daughter in Washington State. I'm out here in Kentucky. I was in Maryland, but it's a way that I can have time with them actively and do something. Plus, it's really good for my brain. But the dopamine centers in my brain make it really difficult for me to regulate how and when I plug into that gaming. Who would have expected that at 60 years old, I would take up something that I always hated and it would become a problem for me? How to deal with insulin resistance. Amazing, Glinda. So, how to deal with insulin resistance. Number one, I have a 6 simple steps book that I'd love for you to download. It's free. It's free for you guys. Just go ask for it. In DM me after the live. I will not catch all the comments in the live and send that out. Or better yet, go to my profile link up here in TikTok and grab that ebook. The profile link says Linktree. Go there, and then the ebook is listed there. So the 6 simple steps are this, and then I'm going to get into detail about them and why the protocol helped me. So it's fiber first every time you eat. By the way, getting fiber in your gut, getting the gut microbiome being healthier, getting the blood sugars down affects both dopamine and oxytocin in a positive way. Okay, so you're struggling with autism and whatnot. One of the best ways you can start to address that is get the sugar down, get your gut health back. That's why this pre-meal drink works so well for me. I drink it more than one time a day because it does so much good for me. I understand that it's not just about my gut, it's about everything that's linked to it. So, fiber first. Hey, devout Lutheran, so good to see you. Fiber first. Prioritize protein. You guys, we're not getting enough protein. Protein is a building block. Our body needs it to create more muscle, to create everything that we need. We need protein. Fiber first, prioritize protein, fill with fats. Protein and fats are going to keep you feeling fuller longer than any carbohydrate ever will. And so part of the reason we're snacking all the time, why we feel like we have to eat all the time, is because we're not getting enough protein. And we've been told what? We've been told that fats are bad for us, to don't eat them, right? Low fat everything, low fat milk, low fat cottage cheese, low fat, get the leanest cut of meat. Stop it. That's not the right way to do this. What we need to pay attention is the fats that we are eating, and the fats that are bad for us are the seed oils that we're being told are healthy for us. They cause inflammation and they worsen your insulin resistance. So I'm dragging this out. Fiber first, prioritize protein, fill with fats, limit your carbohydrates, not just the bagged box ones, but remember that vegetables, especially the ones that grow underground, are carbohydrates. Fruits are carbohydrates. Limit your carbohydrates. Hey, Casey, so good to see you in here. Love your lives, bud. So fiber, protein, fats, limit your carbohydrates. The next two in my 6 simple steps are simple, but this is part of the protocol. Do some intermittent fasting. Okay, it's so important, and we're going to go over this afternoon how that changes these hormones in your brain and increases your ability to utilize them properly when we fast. Fasting is not about calorie restriction. Fasting is not about weight loss. Fasting is about your health and the way that our body was built, and we're not doing it because we're told to do something very different, and that's what's been making us sick. The last step is move your body. You've got to move. You guys, we are so sedentary in today's world that we no longer have a body that needs the energy that we're trying to put into it. So calories are energy? Yeah. But if we're not moving, we're not utilizing that. And when we're not utilizing that, then it starts to get stored as fat. And our cells start to get resistant because there's too much of it in our system. And we have all of these things that I talk about going wrong. So, how you address that is understand that your food is not giving you what you need because of farming practices, because of, big food, big pharma, all the stuff, which I go into detail about in many lives, but I'm not going to right now. So, our food is deficient in vitamins, minerals, and especially in fiber. And when we're so much eating so much sugar and carbohydrates, fiber is the key that keeps us from having elevated blood glucose levels. So stop a second. Insulin is a key let's talk about it this way. Insulin is like the truck that's carrying this load of energy and delivering it to your cells. So when we have too many trucks on the road, it starts to break down the roads, and yet all the gas stations, all the places that need the energy are full and it can't deliver it. So then it starts putting it in storehouses. And yet we're continuing to put more energy out there. So there's more trucks still. Now we have this thing where insulin is high because insulin is a delivery system that's trying to carry that sugar as energy to your cells. And the cells won't take it. And there's just more and more insulin, more and more trucks on your road, and everything starts to break down because of it, including these neurohormones. Okay, so we'll go over in depth what's happening with insulin resistance in regards to those later this afternoon. But really understanding that we've got to get our sugars under control, okay, and that we are missing fiber, that we're missing nutrients. Our food, even our raw organic food, a lot of scientists are starting to say that they're 40 to 70% less dense in nutrients, micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, than they ever used to be. And they're higher in things like glyphosates and pesticides. Glyphosate is a pesticide, and toxins. And so now we have nutrients not getting to our body because they're not in our food and because the high amount of sugar is blocking it through insulin resistance. And then we're getting all these toxins in our food. So it's hard to not have all of that, right? Thank you for all the loves, you guys. Thank you. So it's not hard to not have all of that. The simple solution in conjunction with those 6 steps I gave you are this. All I did was I have a tea in the morning, which is in my cup right now, my lipstick covered straw in a stainless steel cup. I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. So I have this tea we have two a day, and it's a very, very concentrated form of yerba mate, and it's very unique. I'll explain why. I just mix both of mine up in one 40-ounce cup, and then I sip on it throughout the day. Okay. Last night, because I'm trying to get away from other drinks, I had another one, and guess what? I slept just fine. Your body needs the energy that this tea is giving you, every vitamin and mineral that's necessary to sustain life. The people who harvest it down in Argentina can live on this in times of leniency or leanness because it's giving them all those micronutrients. So it does a great job with that. It gives you mental clarity and energy, affecting those neural pathways that are utilizing oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. It's increasing your mental capabilities. It's decreasing things like brain fog and fatigue and depression and anxiety. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a stimulant in it, but it's not increasing anxiety because it has things in it that balance that out. So this tea, I have 2 of them a day at minimum. Sometimes I have 3 or 4. It's food. It's not hurting me to have more. The pills, the injections that you get, you can't have more than that, right? The second part of it is, you guys heard me talking about fiber, and I feel like fiber is this thing we sleep on, even with most of the people talking about this protocol, because fiber does so much good. Remember I said oxytocin. The fiber is helping your gut be healthier, helping remove inflammation, helping you slow down sugars. And when all of that happens, you have better oxytocin production and usage. So how do I affect my ADHD? How do I affect my autism? It's very simple. Give your body what it needs. Is it going to cure it? No. Is it going to make it so much more manageable? Absolutely, it has for me. Guys, some embarrassing stories, if you will, and I want you to understand where I was and where I am now and why I'm so on fire for this protocol. When my kids were teenagers, I didn't know that I had autism. I didn't know that I was suffering from ADHD. I didn't know that I was insulin resistant. My son would come home and pop off to me as teenagers do. He never said anything rude, but he challenged me. My son is a very strong young man. He's now in his 30s. And I remember one night we both tell the story. I got so angry, so uncontrollably angry from the autism, the ADHD, that I threw my phone. It hit the wall. It broke my phone. At that point, I didn't know the cause of everything that was happening. I just knew that he couldn't be in the room with me. So I would tell him, please remove yourself from my space. Go to your room, shut the door, leave me alone. This isn't going to end well. I knew enough to know that, right? I don't have those episodes anymore since I got my insulin resistance under control, since I drink this tea every day that helps my brain. Guess what? It wasn't my fault. It wasn't that I was so poorly regulated with my emotions. You guys, I spent my lifetime doing affirmations, prayers, meditations, doing all the stuff. And I couldn't seem to manage it. It wasn't necessarily that it was just me not being able to mentally control myself. It's physiological within your body, and we're being set up to fail. Why do we have so many more kids with autism, with ADHD, with anxiety, depression, all of these things? The root of it is our food, and that we're not getting these nutrients that we need, and that our food is toxic for us. One of the things I love about the tea, you guys, it's in my profile link, by the way. So you guys, I'm not looking up very much today. I apologize. Let's move this camera a little, see if we can fix this, because I'm on multiple platforms. There we go. That'll help. So the tea is in my profile, but the tea helps get energy to my brain. It helps those neural pathways move better, work better, so that even though I have autism, even though I have PTSD related ADHD, I can much better manage it. No longer throwing phones at walls and then feeling horrible later. No longer in great big outbursts yelling at people because I'm so overstimulated and overwhelmed and then feeling bad later. Do I still have some emotional dysregulation? Yeah, but it's so minute compared to when I was autistic and insulin resistant and didn't know that the two were linked or that insulin resistance was even a problem. And what changed all of that was when I started the system that's actually addressing insulin resistance and thereby diabetes type 2. I started it because my diabetes was getting out of control at 56 years old, and I needed a solution because the medications weren't working. How many of you, if you're diabetic and you suffer with any of these other things like ADHD or autism, because there are a number of us that do, how many of you have ever taken one of those medications, whether it be metformin or Ozempic or any of those things, and felt that your brain got better, that your emotions got better? I haven't heard anybody tell me that. Okay, because those things are like Casey Means says, it's like band-aiding, it's like stifling the symptom, but it's not curing the root cause. The root cause of why we're so sick is our food and that we're not getting these nutrients. And that's what the system does, is it bridges that gap. I still have, you know what? Um, my son texted me tonight. My disabled grandson has a basketball game and he loves his family. His big wish today is that we all go to dinner. So they picked Red Robin. Am I going to go to Red Robin and have a bun and a burger and fries tonight? You damn straight I am. Okay. So before, that was causing the problem. Now I just have the pre-meal drink beforehand. I have my tea, and guess what? That little boy is so full of energy. I have to have my tea when he's here just to keep up with him. But so Saham, did I take supplements? You guys, I took so many supplements because I was a world champion athlete at the time too, and I was in a drug tested federation. So I couldn't do a lot of stuff and didn't want to do a lot of stuff that everybody else does. I had to be very careful about everything that I put in my face. So I was constantly looking for things to address my health. And like many of you guys, I was going to this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. And all of a sudden I had this protocol that was filled with stuff that when I sat down and added it up was costing me about $500 a month. Now Do I still do? Yes, I do this system. Now I take magnesium in a form now that I know better that includes things like D3K2 so that the magnesium actually gets absorbed into my body. In fact, I haven't been taking it as much, but last night I had some. By the way, we have a product, they just changed it from bone fortify to some bone support because they've added some extra things in it that help the magnesium and everything absorb. But if you take that before bed, you'll sleep better. Just a cue. And I can put a link for that in my landing page if you guys are concerned with that. Omega 3s. I have taken omega 3s. I did all of those things. My omega 3s predominantly come from the foods I eat now. Uh, I will supplement with omega 3s from time to time. The biggest thing that I've done that changed everything for me, that reduced the need for all the other things, was to get my blood sugar under control. All of these, not all of them, some of the supplements have like the omega 3s and the magnesium. By the way, I do those. You're very on point with that, especially with the brain and heart. But the biggest thing that made the biggest, most measurable change was doing the system that helped get my blood sugars down and helped get my insulin resistance under control. And we are deficient in omega 3s. I get that. I agree with that completely. We also have an omega 3 because it's so great for metabolic health. But my primary thing is to get you guys healthier. Then, if you need to fill in some other gaps like the magnesium and omega 3s, please feel free to do that where it's necessary for you, depending on your symptoms. I don't do berberine because berberine is like we're starting to piecemeal things, right? Turmeric, which has to be combined with curcumin, berberine, which is doing some work, but not the work that the 7 fibers in this are doing, and it has a different action, but it cannot reduce the blood sugars in the way that this fiber component, this pre-meal drink that I have, does. So this pre-meal drink has 7 different fibers in it, soluble and insoluble. The things that you're getting on the grocery store are predominantly unsoluble or insoluble fibers. They're not going to make that big of a change in your blood sugar. This has fibers in it that are specifically known to reduce a blood sugar spike. So there's 5 of those in here and then 2 other fibers. We have phytosterols in it, things that help reduce cholesterol levels. And through those actions, and then these fibers are considered prebiotics. All fibers really are, but especially soluble fibers. They feed your gut and change your gut microbiome. Now, a lot of the things that you're talking about actually change when your gut microbiome is healthy. You're not needing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, right? You don't need all of the extra stuff. By the way, I don't have to take a vitamin supplement because this has a full vitamin panel in it, vitamins and minerals that are specifically designed for your metabolic health. And again, this tea contains every micronutrient, vitamin, mineral that we need to sustain health. So my vitamin panels are spot on, and I don't take a vitamin supplement. I just drink the tea and the fiber, and that does the work for me. Also, Sahem, I distill my water because we're getting in toxins. We're going to get in toxins. It's just not avoidable in today's world. But I want to reduce that as much as possible. So I distill my water to help get the fluoride that's really toxic for us. It's a waste product that they're throwing in our water, telling us it's good, to get all the other toxins that are in our water out. Now I have a really clean water, but it's deficient of minerals, right? This product helps me not need to remineralize my water as much because it's all contained in the drink. So actually remineralizing that distilled water, I put my tea in it and now it's remineralized and I'm doing fine. I have no mineral deficiency, no vitamin deficiency, and all I'm doing are the 2 teas a day, which 2 are in my cup, and this fiber. Now, the fiber pre-meal drink, again, I have it more than once a day. We have another form of fiber too, but I will have fiber 2 to 3 times a day because I want my gut healthy. I understand that a lot of these hormones that your brain needs to use come from your gut. So if I want normal levels of hormones that my brain can then actually use, I need to keep my gut healthy. Okay. So I don't have to do all of those things. In fact, we have naturopathic physicians who are now doing this, and their testimony is this. They used to have to give people so many different protocols. Like, I remember having spreadsheets of all the stuff I needed to do in a day, all of the things you're talking about, berberine, and I did flaxseed oil, and um, I made these crazy drinks with kale and blueberries and lemon and apple cider vinegar and black seed oil and uh, garlic and ginger and all the stuff, right? That's a lot of stuff to have in your house. Okay. It's good for you. I agree with that. But then I have this spreadsheet on my fridge telling me, oh, yeah, remember to do this. Oh, yeah, you have to have this. You guys, would you rather do that, or would you rather just do, like I said, both of my teas are mixed up in here, and a pre-meal drink before I eat? I'm telling you my life. Croom, I don't know Croom Sahem. I'm not like a naturopathic physician. I will look it up though when we're done with this live. Um, and I appreciate your input, but I'm going to tell you, I have the medical mediums book. I put all of this stuff together, and I used to do these complicated things to try and get my health back. And I wouldn't say it wasn't working, but it was working very slowly. With this, I noticed a difference in 6 days. For sugar cravings, do you know that these two things are helping with the sugar cravings by addressing your insulin resistance, by getting in those things that we need, by keeping the minerals that we need, the vitamins that we need, by keeping my blood sugar spikes lower? Because now sugar cravings, hear me out, are the body's need for energy. And the microbiome that's off in your gut needing to be fed, and the microbiome in your gut that's off is things like yeast that feed on sugar. Sugar cravings are not just, oh, I can't help myself. Sugar cravings are that you've set your body up with too high of an insulin level, which is causing a gut disturbance and causing a negative microbiome. And now you're having sugar cravings because that microbiome wants to be fed and your cells are screaming for energy. When you get the insulin down, your sugar cravings go away. When I drink this tea, I'm not hungry. I don't have sugar cravings. I am thinking I'm probably not even going to eat until we go to dinner with my kids after my grandson's basketball game tonight. That's how powerful this is. So again, do I need to do all of these pieces? I'm going to look up Croom and do some education for myself on that. But do I need to do all of those crazy things, or do I just simply have this, which is giving me a majority of what I need to support my body and reduce and remove all of the other needs for all of these other things? Simple, portable, sustainable. You guys, I don't know about you, but I remember the days when I had all those things that I was trying to remember to take and bring with me and do all the stuff. And I, today's world is just too crazy for us to have to remember all of that stuff, because they're just giving you a piece here and a piece there and a piece here and a piece there. Not saying that they don't work, but I'm saying I want something simpler that's really going to address everything. And that's why our company has put together these things that are directly to affect your health metabolically, so that there isn't the need for all the craziness that we've been told we need to have. You have sleep apnea. So about a week ago, I just did a video on sleep apnea, how it's affecting your brain and your visceral fat, how insulin resistance is affecting your brain and your visceral fat. Because before the system, I was tested, and my sleep apnea, I was waking up 60 times an hour. I did not wake up last night until like 8 o'clock this morning, when I had to get up to use the restroom. And then I did my meditations and whatnot. But I don't have that problem with constant waking up. Now, I will always have a problem with snoring because I broke my nose twice. This nose has been broken twice. That causes some disruption in the way my airways work. But as far as true sleep apnea, my tongue bed is thinned down, so it's not blocking off my airways. My neck, the visceral fat in it is gone, so that I can have a normal size airway. Do you know that visceral fat cued by insulin resistance? And yesterday I was talking about fructose, and remember how I talked about fructose leading into more visceral fat? That means your throat and your tongue too. So no fruit juice. I don't drink fruit juice at all anymore, and I used to drink it like crazy. All I do is the system. It's reduced my visceral fat. It's changed the way my neural pathways work, and it's also just changed my need for all of the other things, and so I don't have the sleep apnea. Of course, I eat healthier. Happy I didn't start that way. Do you guys wanna know how I started? 4 years ago when I started the system, I was disabled. I had a walker, a cane. I had disability plates on my car. I couldn't go walk up and down stairs. I was angry all the time because I was in pain all the time. I could no longer work in a medical clinic because I couldn't be on my feet, and I had vertigo so bad that even if I tried to take a reception job and I tried to lean over to get charts, I would get dizzy and fall. So then I started driving for Lyft and Uber. I could control when I went out to work because of my pain. There was days when if you asked me to get up at 7 o'clock to go into a medical clinic, I was in so much pain I couldn't do it. But when I was driving for Lyft and Uber during the pandemic, there was nothing open. Gas stations were few and far between. There was nothing open to get food. I was out for 8 hours a day, oftentimes far from my home, had no room to keep food in a cooler fresh in my car. So I stopped at McDonald's or Jack in the Box one time a night, and then I tried to eat healthier during the day. When I lost my 55 pounds, when I started to change all of this and get my energy back, I was not eating clean. It still worked. Now, as I got better, I wanted to do better. And that's my message for you guys. You guys don't have to change everything in your life. Would I love you to? Yes, but that's not sustainable and that's not going to help you get better right away, right? You take everything away from somebody and they'll maybe last a couple of days before they cave and they're not even feeling better yet. So do I eat healthier now? Yes. Do I still have some of the foods? Yes. Because in the first 2 years, I kept going back to some of the comfort foods that I thought were so good. And that by the way is your brain memories that you're craving some of those foods. But there were foods that I had with my daddy, who came off of the reservation, who lived on commodities when he was a kid and brought some of that to us. So there was something like, we called it dipping bread, peanut butter and Karo syrup. We mixed together into this like thick stuff, and then we would dip bread in it. I know better than to eat it now. It's so unhealthy for you. But there were times when I just wanted that connection with my dad after he passed. And so I would be craving that. And when I would eat it, well, the thing that used to taste so yummy when I was a kid tasted toxic now. I've cleaned up my diet enough that I can tell the foods that are just really bad for us. Learning about neurotransmitters. We're going to talk about them. I am not an expert. I'm not a neuroscientist. There's a ton of people you can listen to out there. But what I love to do is grab that information and try and get it so that it's relatable for you guys. We'll be talking about that at 3, Sahem. 3 o'clock, we're going to be talking about neurohormones this afternoon. So the foods that we crave, you guys, are just as much emotion as anything else, as our body needing hunger, as our yeast, our native microbiome needing that energy. But when we start to get better and eat better and our neurohormones are working better, we have less of those cravings, even for those foods that we thought were so important to us as we were younger. I've been able to remove most of that stuff from my diet now. But am I perfect? You guys, I am not. Now, do I eat healthier? What I had for dinner last night, so super yummy. I took 3 chicken breasts, cooked them up in some olive oil, added some chicken stock, some organic chicken stock. I put in sun-dried tomatoes, olives, capers, and artichoke hearts. And then I didn't even really have to season much by the time I put all of that in. So a good amount of fats, some fibers and proteins, but again, I still have this before I eat. And it was rich and satiating and yummy. And that meal that I made will probably make 5 to 6 meals. I have them stored in my fridge now for the rest of the week for me. Sleep apnea, vitamin B1, and yeast helps. Nutritional yeast, very different than the yeast in your gut that's causing problems. Okay. Dr. Berg is an amazing resource. I listen to him myself a lot. But here's the thing. What I would love for people to do is it's like some of the information that we're getting out there is like, you've seen the old what is it, analogy where they take a glass jar and they have the students put the big rocks in, and then there's still gaps, and so they fill up with the sand. Whereas if you put the sand in first, it's going to take a lot more sand and you won't get the big rocks in. What the system is doing is giving you the big rocks to address the root cause, to address the majority of your symptoms. Then if there's gaps left over, some of the things you're talking about are fine and helpful. But you can't see those, and you're going to use way more of those than if you just address those big rocks in the jar first and then fill in those smaller places. And then it goes to small rocks and then it goes to sand, right? So the system is like the big rocks in your nutrition. We're giving you the big basis of what you need to start feeling better. And then if you need these other things, because not everybody needs the omega-3s and all the things depending on their diet, or the extra B1. And now the one thing I will say that I believe in is the D3. That's why I love our bone support, because it has calcium, magnesium, D3, K2, and now it has some other components in it. But now I'm getting in D3. We cannot make D3 without sunlight. Most of us are sitting in rooms like this with artificial lights. We're not getting D3 production. Okay. So yeah, there are some small components I still add in, but predominantly for me, it's the system. That's the one thing a month that I will not give on. If I can't do something else in a month, that's fine. I still will prioritize the system because that's what saved my health overall. Okay. So you guys, I'm going to hop off in just over 2 hours. We're going to come back. We're going to dive deep into oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine, and how insulin resistance is changing them in your system. And we're going to go over a little bit. I can't get into all of these things and how all of dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin create the disorders with anxiety, depression, even irritable bowel syndrome, autism, ADHD, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's. But we're going to go in a broader scope. What time Europa? I don't know. It's 5 Eastern time here in the US. So I think you're 5 to 8 hours ahead of me. It's going to be in about 2 hours and 15 minutes from now, Saham. Okay. About 2 hours and 15 minutes is 3 Eastern time for me right now. So that would be, it would be 2100 hours for you. So 9 o'clock your time, 6 hours ahead is about where you're at. Okay, so about 9 o'clock your time. I will be back, you guys. I got to go refresh my brain on all this science that I'm going to give to you and answer some questions that have been coming in. By the way, use the link in my profile. It's more than just about the sales of the product, which is absolutely, you guys, I am on fire for it because it's the one thing that changed my life. And I really believe that it can change your life too. That's why I talk about all the disorders, because I don't think people understand how impactful insulin resistance is and how easy it is to start getting it under control so you can get your health back. By the way, remember walker, cane, wheelchair, disability plates? I still have a disability sticker because of my disabled grandson. I use it for him. I regularly go up and down stairs, carry stuff up and down stairs. I donated my walker and my cane because I don't need them. Life is so much better. And all I did was start to address my diabetes and insulin resistance. As a result, all of this got better. So that was worth $5 a day to me. That's worth me making sure that that's a priority in my life. We'll see you guys in about 2 hours. All right. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you then. Bye, guys.